welcome everybody to our first Beta Change minisode of 2021. I'm so excited to welcome a friend of mine, Dana Swann, who's joining us from Nyack, New York. So we're both located in snowy New York today, where it's pretty cold and we're bundled up inside, and we're ready to talk about diabetes and actually Dana's new venture, which is called Goodies by Glucose, which she founded pretty recently. And we talked about in an interview for an article that was published on Bare Minerals. So I'm so excited to welcome Dana. She's amazing, and I can't wait for you to share more about your diabetes journey with us. So Dana, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so just as she said, I'm Dana Swann, and I am a type 1 diabetic. I live in New York. I've grown up here my entire life. I kind of live upstate, so kind of a little bit upstate from the city. And I'm 26, and I just started a business where I use my skills in artwork in order to spread more awareness about diabetes and form a more inclusive culture surrounding diabetes.
That's awesome. I think that it's so exciting that you're using your artistic talents in this way. And we were just actually talking about, I think it was, today's the 15th. So a year ago, I was going out to Australia to meet my fellow Beta Change member, Fiona, who we co-led a workshop for JDRF for teens with diabetes and their siblings. And Dana actually had participated in an interview with me that we made a video from, and it kicked off the workshop to help inspire the teens to be able to share their own stories. So I just love how things come full circle, and I don't think any of us knew what we'd be doing this year in February. But I'm glad, have you been healthy? Has everything been good with your family? How has everything been kind of going as we're still like in this pandemic still a year later?
Fortunately, I've been doing well, and I'm very thankful I haven't been sick at all. Everyone in my house has been well. I'm very thankful for that blessing. My diabetes health has been okay. It's been a little weird not actually going to see my doctor and doing everything with telehealth right now for the most part.
Right.
But it's actually been kind of relaxing to have more downtime. I already work from home, so not much has changed there.
I know. I think like for some of us, who had been working from home or, had been already like in this kind of environment, it's not like super new, but it takes like a bit of adjusting. I still felt like to kind of like be not having as many boundaries between like work at home or,
Yes.
I had my most recent endocrinologist appointment still virtually like last week, and trying to figure out how we're going to go do blood tests and like, do all that that you do in person. It takes like a little bit more effort, I feel like. Do you feel like that too? Like it's like a couple more steps?
Yes, I agree. And just trying to keep track of your blood sugars and like your pump settings and your CGM settings and all of that, like you're having to be a bit more hands-on, I notice. Because you can always email your doctor, but doing telehealth, it's like you had to have already looked at your data in order to share it with your doctor. And, I have to upload everything, send it to her. She reviews it. We review it together. And I just saw my nurse practitioner last week, and I'm like, my endocrinologist needs blood work. Are you able to do the blood work and send it back to her? She needs this, this, and that, because, we have so many specific things that we need to check as diabetic people. So I've been able to become more knowledgeable about that. So I do see that as a benefit, but it does take a lot more time and effort.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think like checking in is hard because it just is, always on us to do it ourselves. So it's like, we have to make our own appointments, and it's not like somebody is going to, I don't know, my doctor doesn't remind me and say like, you need to schedule appointments. So then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, it's been a while. I should probably do that,
It was a year for me.
Me too. Yeah, almost. I think for me, it was like 10 months. So
yeah,
I was like, I got to do this. And I feel like since we do it ourselves, like every day already, like we're doing like the daily triage. So it's like, then, we have to be like, okay, we still have to do this part. So
Yeah.
congratulations to us for still doing it, even though
Yes.
we have
still alive.
more responsibilities. We're here well. So Dana, what kind of pump actually are you on right now? I meant to ask you that because I know that you were using the Animus one, I think, before, but then you also using an Omnipod sometimes. So what are you using now?
So I have the Omnipod. It's been 2 years now. I think around the fall, and I really love it. And I use the Dexcom CGM.
Mm-hmm. I love Dexcom too. I've been using that for like 5 years, and I actually just got the Tandem pump.
Oh, nice!
Which I really like. Like that's been like a really helpful thing to help me just like sleep through the night, and like it's doing some stuff like that. So I'm excited for like the technology to get even better and hopefully be more accessible to people, you know, who don't have health insurance. And as we know, like I had to explain health insurance in the US to somebody recently who was outside the US, and I was like, I don't know how. It's very difficult to explain it simply, I think. And thankfully there are groups like T1 International and like other places that are doing all this advocacy work where, you know, there are resources to even help explain what the problem is, or, you know, because I mean, you and I definitely we probably wouldn't have the same like health insurance, or, you know, I say differently, but I just mean like likely everybody with diabetes has a different experience getting all their stuff. So
it's not universal.
I'm on Tandem. Some people's insurance don't cover both those things. So your options are dictated by the health insurance that you have, and that dictate, you know, that's all dictated by how much money things cost. And I just it's a lot
and where you live too. I just turned 26 in December, so I had to learn. I had to learn like what is insurance. It was a little stressful just because I wasn't sure what route to take. My mom has just retired this year too. So on top of her insurance kind of changing and becoming more expensive to have, you know, me included, I was also 26. So it's like, technically I shouldn't be on it at all. And I had to, you know, go through my salary and see like, oh, don't make too much money, because if you make too much money, then the state isn't going to give you any help. And for someone who has a chronic illness, it's so important that we make sure that we can have our specialists covered and our medications covered, because it's not like, oh, if I get sick, it's like, no, I already am, you know, I don't want to say sick, but we have a chronic illness. So and we're expensive. We're an expensive people.
I understand that. And I know turning 26 can be scary. So congratulations for, you know, doing that and handling it. And you know, I know that
adulting,
it's really hard. And it's another part of adulting, I think, that like people with diabetes don't have to deal with. So you know, good for you. You're handling it greatly, as always. So as we, you know, we all are trying to do. But that kind of leads me into my next question. So what we wanted to talk about today was how you incorporate your creativity into your work. And, you know, I wanted to know, you know, about how your art has maybe changed like during the pandemic at all. Like, have you been creating different things? Like, so I know that's, maybe you can talk about Goodies by Glucose. Like we can go a little bit out of order, like if you want to tell us how it came about. So it's just, you know, something I think that's amazing that came from your talent that you've been developing over the years. And I actually am waiting for my first order, so I'm very excited.
Thank you.
I can't wait. I'm getting a sweatshirt, and I think I'm getting the drawing that you did based on a photo we took together. Like I think when I was interviewing
it is.
And I was like, oh, I would love to have this. Like I have it in a video form, but I think it's beautiful. So do you want to tell me a little bit about that? Like, was this something that you think was like accelerated by COVID, like happening? Was it something you were thinking about and then you felt like this was the right time to do it? And I'm just curious about that, because I know you've used you know, your art to like help express yourself living with type 1 since you were little. Right? Were you 9 when you were diagnosed? Remind me.
I was 6.
Remember, 6. Okay. When you were really small. And I think like that was something that we talked about, how it's like important to have an outlet and a way to kind of talk to other people about it sometimes, because it can be like really complicated. And I think that's great. So anyway, so I'll stop talking.
Thank you. No, you gave me a lot of good ideas. So yeah, like you said, I've always been interested in drawing. I've always been very into art and creating and just being, um, using my talents in school or outside of school. What really made me decide to make goodies become a thing was the fact that like I always liked drawing and taking pictures of just people with diabetes or myself, and I would like kind of just doodle around, and post it on Instagram or Tumblr back when Tumblr was really big. And people always responded positively, and they were like, wow, this is so cool, this is beautiful, or like they were so surprised to see someone showing their medical disability in a positive way. And in recent years, we've seen companies like, I know Aerie uses models who have medical disabilities at this point, and it's becoming more visible, things that are usually invisible. So instead of just making it like just a hobby, I decided that I could help more people by bringing it to light and showing like this can be normal because this is our normal. We wake up and this is how we look. We have these devices, people joke around and say we're cyborgs. And that's something that we can take in a positive way, because it's not something that has to be so shameful. It doesn't have to be something that you have to hide. And even though, yeah, we may still choose to not wear our pump like on our neck or something weird like that, it's still important to see yourself in your entirety, like in showing your whole identity. We know that as diabetic people, diabetes can be a huge part of our lives and a huge part of our identity. Even though it doesn't define us, it's still a big part of who we are and what we look like. So when I make my art, I try to just incorporate that message. Like, don't make it the central point of the art, but just include it because it's included in our lives.
And I think along the same vein, something else that we talked about is why representation about exactly, who is included in the diabetes space and who people see as being people who have diabetes is really important to your work too. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So usually in the past, we would see ads for diabetes products with people that didn't necessarily have a wide range of colors or genders and things like that. Oftentimes, you wouldn't be able to even see an insulin pump on the person who was advertising the product.
Right.
So things like that, it always kind of was like, well, how do I know if they really like it? Or how do I know if it's really comfortable or that it's not going to make me look dorky? So I decided that I would focus on primarily women, because, for us, it's always like, oh, you have to make sure that you're, top notch, beautiful, and all of that. And we focus so much on being beautiful instead of just being as we are and striving to be beautiful. And even the whole like everybody's beautiful thing, well, yeah, that's true, but with diabetes it's hard to feel that way sometimes. I always thought, oh, I could never be a model, I could never do a photo shoot because I have an insulin pump and nobody wants to see that, that's gross. So I try to incorporate women that are wearing their insulin pumps or their continuous glucose monitors in my artwork to show that this doesn't have to be something that taints the beauty of people. It's okay.
I think that's beautiful. And I think, it's so sad that so many people feel like that. And, it like breaks my heart to hear you say that. But I know that I felt like that too. And I think like probably a lot of people have, much more than me. And I feel like it's important that diabetes is like part of the conversation because it can happen to anybody. And I think sometimes when people are struggling to understand, like, well, why do we need to talk about like representation in the diabetes space or in who is, like like the who do people picture when they have diabetes or something like that? I think it's like it is really important. And I think the more that we talk about it, the more, we can help change some of those things. And you, I think, are being the change that you want to see in this space. And I think that's really inspiring for people. So I really appreciate your work in that. And I think it's even like, I was going to say, I don't even know what the ad was, but I saw on my phone, like in the Facebook app, like another company that is using models who have a Libre. And I don't even know what it is, but they were targeting me. So I was, oh, okay. Like, I don't know what this company is, but I had to scroll past it. And I was like, that wasn't like a diabetes ad. Like it was an ad for like clothing or something that you were saying.
That's awesome.
Does, which is great. But I think too, like, making sure that we're like including like all this, like the diversity of the devices and of people, and like not using like a Libre that like looks pretty, or like a lot of people can't access that. And it's not like a beautiful thing a lot of the time for us, like every day. So I feel like there's this balance between like wanting people to be more educated, but also being real, like
exactly.
And I love your artwork, and I hope that everybody who is watching this can, visit Dana's site and see what she makes, because I feel like you are, really showing people in like all these different situations and doing different activities and things like that. And I think that's really nice. And
thank you.
And it's awesome. So I'm hoping that everybody can, I'm going to put your website up again in a second on the screen so that people can see it. So I love that you do that, Dana. Do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe like some of those like challenges that you've been dealing with during either since the pandemic or just like in general with diabetes, like that other people might not see, like that you want to either raise more awareness with or feel comfortable about? What do you think?
So one thing that has been becoming a more popular topic is about the whole carb counting and dieting aspects of type 1 diabetes. Diet plays a huge part in diabetes, and we know, but as type 1 diabetics, we tend to be like, oh, well, I can eat whatever I want as long as I take my insulin. I don't have to reduce my carb intake, or I don't have to pay attention to what I'm eating because I'm not, type 2 diabetic. And I think that not only is that kind of insensitive, but it's also a little bit misinformed, because I've become more mindful of what I eat and how food affects my body. And it's actually been beneficial. It hasn't been restricting like it might seem like it is. It's more freeing, because it's like, even though I might be like, oh yeah, I have to count more, or I have to take a higher dose of insulin, I am freed from this mentality that taking more insulin is bad or eating more food is bad. It's okay to require more insulin. It's okay to eat more carbs. And it's okay to not focus on any very strict and rigid fad diet. And I'm learning to count my carbs correctly and take the exact dose and take it ahead of time, so that I don't have to worry about my blood sugar for the rest of, I want to say the rest of the day, but we know that it's going to change in like 3 hours, just realistically speaking.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad you said that. Actually, that was something like I was thinking about yesterday. I was like feeling frustrated with how much insulin I had to take, and then I had to be like, okay, why am I like judging myself for what my like dose is? This is what it is, and that's okay. And I find that really compelling that you shared that too. That you are also trying to accept that, because we've had it diabetes since we were 6. I've had it since I was 11, but we still like have these challenges like in our 20s that we're like trying to reconcile, I think, with ourselves. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Yeah. Do you think it's been harder since you've been like inside more? And I find it hard too, to like feel like
I feel like even though there's something beneficial about being home and you can develop a proper routine, there's also a side of being home where it kind of makes you lazy. And well, I'll speak for myself. It makes me lazy, and it makes me kind of not as diligent or like focused on what I need to do, because I have so much time and I don't have anywhere to go. So sometimes I get too laxed and I might like snack more or skip a bolus. So some of those things, they come around, bite you in the butt because we don't really get a break, even though, a lot of us are on a break because of COVID. We don't get a break from dealing with diabetes. It's constant no matter what.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think like, being able to be nice to ourselves is really important because like we can't always like work out every day or, whatever it is that we're like trying to overcome like in daily life. But I feel I understand those challenges too. I'm also dealing with a lot of the same ones.
I need to work out more.
We can do it. I'm trying to be positive, but
yeah,
also it's like a tension between being positive and like kind. So like I'm trying to not beat myself up, but also be like, okay, like I can make time to do this.
And like I want to get excited to do it. Like, not like, oh, I have to work out.
It's way easier when you're excited, I think. Too. So tell me a little bit about your plans for Goodies by Glucose this year. Like, what are you hoping to do? Do you have some goals that you're trying to meet? What are you working on?
I'm working on diversifying the types of products that I offer, but also keep it more affordable for the people that I'm attracting. I know a lot of young people follow me, so I want to make it affordable, and I hope that by the time I get like my own space and I can have my bigger office space, I'll be able to do more products made by hand, and I can do more personalization and things like that. So hopefully within the next 12 months, I'll be able to do that. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Can you tell us like what some of the products are that you're using now? In case I can't remember if we covered that before, but I think people
know. So right now, you mentioned your sweatshirt. So I do sell a few different types of sweatshirts with a few different designs. I want to make more sweatshirts because I think it's very fun to wear something that has diabetes on it. I think that's something that's a bit more unique. I also sell stickers. I sell, I think, a couple of phone cases and mugs and just prints, like framed prints or posters. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's really exciting. I love your prints. I love your tote bags. I love all the stickers. I think they're great. And I just think it's really nice to see you like transforming the art that you've been building like on Instagram with your Glucose 101 account. And then, doing something like a business that you've been,
it's been fun.
So. Cool. And what about like personally? So I know that you are, you're doing a different job, I think, than the last time we talked when you were doing the animals, taking animals, doing the education, which was such a cool job. That was really cool. So do you want to share like what you're doing now and what your personal like goals are for that, maybe?
Sure. So, I'm still teaching, but right now, because of the circumstances, I'm doing a lot of online teaching. So I still do ESL. I work for VIP Kid. If you don't know what that is, it's basically teaching English as a second language to kids that live in China, mostly Beijing, China. And I also work for a company called OutSchool, where I create different types of classes in any subject, mostly animal science. And I get to meet with kids from all over the country and all over the world. And we kind of just have fun. And one of the classes is actually a club for diabetic kids. So that's fun.
That's awesome. Cool. That's really great. So how do you run the club? Like and how old are the kids that you work with?
With Diabuddies Junior, my youngest is 4 and the oldest is, I believe, 8. And they're lots of fun. They're so cute. A lot of them will bring like their teddy bears with diabetes. So there's Rufus and then Coco.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Jerry, yeah. So that's usually like a show and tell type of class. And then with the older kids, we'll play Jeopardy, we'll do trivia, would you rather? And they have a lot of fun. They just kind of talk about video games and, someone's Dexcom goes off and that's always funny. We just have fun talking.
Oh, that's awesome. So you just like talk with them and they might like talk about their bear, or they might like, like kids do, just like say
Yeah.
what's going on with them that day.
Yes. Yeah. There's lots of random things, and I kind of have to gear it back towards the topic of discussion. But generally, it's nice. And, sometimes kids will come for a few meetings, some come consistently. So they enjoy it.
That's really great. So what made you think of that, like starting that? Did you, was it because just you love teaching and you wanted to be able to combine the teaching diabetes?
Yeah.
How did that come about? That's such a cool idea, I think.
It was that, plus on this platform, I knew that there was a lot more, and there was more of a need for social clubs that were online for kids. And I knew that things like JDRF, they weren't really happening right now because of the pandemic. And my friend, she was a member of my church when we were kids, and her daughter was diagnosed over the summer. And I went over to their house. I hadn't seen them in years, but I went over and I showed her how to do different shots and different methods and how to calm her down. She's only 4. I got her Jerry the Bear, and she's like, this is all great, but she still didn't have a good support system from like her family and her circle. So I connected her with another parent, and then I made the class.
Well, congratulations on starting that, because I think a lot of parents will find that that's like a helpful resource for them and for kids that age, So good for you. That's so inspiring, Dana. I think that's like a great way to give back to, for like, what it's like to be a kid, with diabetes, and your family knows what it's like to have a kid with diabetes in the family. So you can kind of share your experiences that way. So
yeah.
Cool. That's great. So any other things that you would like to share with us about, what's going on in 2021, or, what you'd like to do when the pandemic is over? Do you have any like goals?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about making a career change. It's still in the works. I mean, I still want to work with kids. I still want to teach, but I think I'm going in a different direction. Can't share too many details because I'm still planning. But other than that, I would like to just continue in my life. I'm still in a long distance relationship, and I miss my boyfriend very much.
Where's your boyfriend?
He's in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so have you not seen him for a long time, or when was last time?
We were able to meet in October for his birthday, and before that, July. But because of COVID and working, it's been quite difficult to do like the whole 2-week quarantine thing. It's a lot for New Yorkers. It's a lot.
It's so hard. Oh, but we're getting some good vibes from our audience, which is great. So I just wanted to share those. Can you see the smiley face?
I can.
Oh,
thank
awesome.
you.
From Denise. So thank you, Denise. So, I mean, Dana, good for you for hanging in there. I know what that's like. It is very difficult, but I think like, this is going to be a hard time. We can get through it. I hope so.
Thank you.
Stay positive, stay strong, that kind of thing. Positive thinking, I feel like, is helpful.
Yes.
It's still a really rough time for so many people.
It is.
Yeah. But, congratulations on all the things that you have going on. I put our link in the comments so that people can check out Goodies by Glucose, which is free. Yeah. And I just really appreciate you sharing your story with us. And, I think that the work that you're doing with your art and getting your art out there in the world, and, having people start more conversations because of it. And it's just like really exciting. So thank you. And I can thank you, honestly. I've seen it, like how you shared your story and like the impact that it's had on, the teens that we worked with, and how they were able to share theirs like in return. So I hope that, we can keep the cycle going, like, sharing with each other and inspiring each other. So
exactly.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Dana, before we let you go?
I just want to say thank you to the people that have supported this very small business of mine and turning my hobby into something that can actually help inspire other people to share their story and affect change, even on just a social level. Thank you for just watching this, and I hope that you guys are hanging in there during this pandemic.
Oh, thanks, Dana. I thank everybody too for tuning in and for being able to support you. So we're gonna make sure we include your links. We can include a couple like photos of your products if you'd like on our beta change site too, just to do some
Okay.
promotion there. But if anybody has any other questions for Dana, you can write them in the comments and we can take a look at those at any time. So we hope that you've enjoyed our mini-sode. So Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. This is great.
Thank you for having me.